Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 88.7 FM WRHU. Eddie Fitzgerald here with Jake Fischer of Bleacher Report. He's also written the book Built to Lose: How the NBA's Tanking Era Has Changed the League. Jake, how are you doing on this Friday morning, afternoonish?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me, Eddie. How are you?
I cannot complain. I am out here. The NBA is back. It's my favorite time of the year, as I'm sure it is for you. And we got an absolute whopper here in New York. The Knicks went into double overtime and beat the Boston Celtics. Jake, what did you take away from that game? The absolute thriller to start off the season.
I've been saying for a long time that I'm quite high on Jaylen Brown, to the point where, I think he is a legitimate number one option on a championship team. We've got a situation where he's put up 40 plus on an opening night, right? I think on the flip side with the Knicks, Kemba obviously did what he does when healthy, so that's exactly why they brought him there. Evan Fournier as well. That they targeted him in free agency, hoping he could be a secondary creator and a scorer in the half court, and he did that off of some DHOs with Julius Randle, and Randle did what he did in the regular season last year. So, the Knicks will be a fun team as long as they're competitive and the Garden's rocking like that, and it's good for the NBA overall.
Now, Julius Randle had almost a triple-double in that game, 35, 9, and 8. Does he seem like somebody who's solidifying themselves as a legitimate championship piece on a championship roster, even though he's a little bit out there as like maybe a B or a A1, A2 kind of guy?
We haven't seen him play out of the first round of the playoffs, right? So
right.
That's kind of what the conversation comes down to with a lot of these guys, right? I mean, people look at Utah and they haven't advanced deep into the postseason. That was a knock on Tracy McGrady for his entire career, right? So I don't think you can prove that you're capable of performing on a championship caliber team until you've advanced deep into the postseason. Where like we've seen Jaylen Brown, I mentioned him earlier. We saw him and Jason Tatum basically lead the Celtics to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals as like sophomore, second, third year type players, right? So we've seen them do that before. And we haven't seen Julius Randle in that capacity yet. So I'll kind of withhold my answer and withhold my judgment until he gives himself an opportunity to prove that.
All right. Let's shift to a different superstar, same conference. You gave a report a couple weeks ago out on Bleacher Report about the update of Ben Simmons. This was before he came back to Philadelphia and there were struggles. You mentioned Doc Rivers talking about, well, it's in your effing contract in that conversation. As things have progressed, how have you seen this situation sort of unfold from where you gave that report a couple weeks ago?
I mean, it has unfolded how we reported it was probably going to, right? He did report back, and he is now maintaining he's physically unable and mentally unable to play. He reports back stiffness yesterday, and then today apparently he says that he's just no longer he's just at present not mentally prepared to play. So that's where we're at. I think the Sixers are going to continue to keep finding him for not performing. Maybe they're able to come up with a different strategy, a specific timeline to make him actually get on the same page as them. I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody who was in that conversation today yet. I probably won't because I'm over the story being that, like I reported back then, I've been reporting since July until the Sixers, and Daryl Morey said it on the radio last night, until the Sixers get an offer back that gives them a difference maker who they think can either match Ben Simmons' contribution to a championship team alongside Joel Embiid or a little bit, or brings a little bit more of a difference. They're not going to move him. So we're just going to continue to see this situation take a ebb and a flow and a turn and a twist, internally, if as long as that maintains the case. Like until another team, Sacramento, San Antonio, Minnesota, whoever puts an offer on the table that gets Ben Simmons or gets the Sixers closer to the championship, that's when Philly will entertain trading Ben Simmons.
Well, you see, I want to touch on and maybe get your take on Morey's quote last night. Is there maybe a move where you can tangentially get the pieces that you would need to get a difference maker, but get Ben out of the situation? Because, as it sits right now, things will continue to sour if he just, says that he's not mentally prepared to play basketball at the start of the season.
Well, I mean, they looked pretty good in game one against New Orleans, right? And that was the Pelicans, and they didn't have Zion Williamson. But if Tyrese Maxey can continue to perform and they can continue to win games, I don't see them caving here. I don't see them making a move. I mean, he said last night this could take 4 years. Like, I think they legitimately do not want to trade Ben Simmons unless they have an offer that is better than him. And that's not on the table right now. And if that's not on the table, then it's in his contract. They want him to play basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers. They've never done anything they think like egregious to him. All of his real complaints that I've heard have been that he never really had the opportunity to grow in like a typical rebuilding team. Like once he and Joel were healthy, they were a 50-win team. The pressure's been on, and he hasn't even had a chance to kind of fix his shortcomings and weaknesses. So that's what he's saying. But the Sixers are prepared, it seems, they hired a shooting coach, and they've been consulting with sports psychologists. Like, they're ready to help him get back and play. So that's where I think this stands.
How much of this do you think comes down to Morey and Doc Rivers only being in Philadelphia for their second year this year, that they don't quite understand how long something like this has been brewing inside of Ben, where you can't really get a feel for a situation, like when the Sixers got rid of the old equipment manager?
No, I think that those are the equipment manager situation and this are very different. I think.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think Ben clearly just got moved into being like a tier 2 star alongside Joel, and he didn't like it. And when the situation broke down as it did against Atlanta, and he was playing poorly, he was starting to realize like, oh, maybe, this isn't the best situation for me, blah, 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 blah. Like, I think he's looking for an out. That's my objective opinion. Like, just from, he just said he's not mentally ready to play. Like, I think he didn't play for Australian Olympics. I think he's looking for a fresh start. But this is a business, and the Sixers, offered him a lot of money to play for them, not to be traded somewhere else. So he's going to have to, at a certain point, be a professional about this and uphold the duties of his contract.
But let's stick with the Eastern Conference really quickly. The Heat last night dominate the Bucks 137-95. They're a team that went out and they are looking for a big step out of Tyler Herro. They bring in Kyle Lowry to combo guard things up in there. Are they a threat to now get that bubble bounce back year as they had to take a step back after making that run in 2020?
I think so. I'm very high on Miami. I love the Lowry addition, PJ Tucker as well. They're going to keep growing their young guys, and Bam Adebayo is one of the best two-way forces in the league right now. So yeah, I agree. I think the Heat are as dangerous as anyone behind the Bucks. Especially with the Nets right now, where they're at with Kyrie, and the Sixers with the Ben Simmons situation. That the Heat are definitely a team I'd keep an eye on. The Miami and Atlanta are not going anywhere.
See, now this is what's got me thinking. This will be my last question to you, Jake, and then I'll let you go. We've talked for years in the NBA media that the Western Conference is clearly the supremacist conference. They have the best players, the best teams. Now we're starting to see teams in the East start to come up through the ranks. So I got to ask you, is the East going to be just as competitive as the West, maybe just an echelon a little bit below? How many years or how many seasons is it this season? When is the East finally going to stop being the little brother to the Western Conference?
I think we're getting close. I mean, we saw two borderline all-star type talents, one a four-time all-star in DeRozan and Alonzo Ball, both leave the West to go to Chicago. Washington seems to kind of have refortified themselves from Russell Westbrook. Miami, Atlanta, we talked about the Knicks. I mean, the Hornets think they got a different step that they can take here. So there's a lot of teams that are fighting for the playoffs. But the Indiana Pacers have Rick Carlisle now and a couple All-Star type guys on their roster as well. So yeah, the East is going to be a bloodbath at the bottom, I think, for sure.
Well, you can follow Jake on Twitter at Jake L. Fischer. Read all of his stuff at Bleacher Report. Read Built to Lose, how the NBA's tanking era changed the league forever. Jake, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come and talk with me. I couldn't have asked for a better way to spend this Friday.
Sounds good, Eddie. Thanks for having me, man. Take care.
Appreciate you.